Yes, sir.
How are you, man? How are you?
I'm fine.
So,
How are you?
good. So, send me these two essays. And so, what is the score you're getting in prelims? Expected?
Sir, I think around 104 in paper one.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. So, by all means,
And yes, and around that only 102, 103 in CSAT also.
wonderful, wonderful. Let's see your essays. And this is a like
Yes,
you've been sending several essays now. Huh?
yes, sir. But I just wanted to have a have wanted you to have a look. At, is it correct?
Okay, okay, okay. So this is the first essay which you. I mean, today we will pick up first. Okay. If you
Okay.
want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. So this is just a topic. If you want to shine like a
Mm.
sun, first burn like a sun. So what does sun signify in the line? It stands for success, glory, and prosperity. It stands for shining bright in the universe of darkness around us. It resembles the discrete fire of motivation and hard work that should be continuously lit to illuminate the planets and solar system, signifying unparalleled dedication. So it is okay. The introduction is fine. I won't
Mm.
say very good, but it's okay. It's fine.
Mm.
It's doable. So where you try to show that it's a metaphor. However, what exactly it stands for, that description was not very accurate. So though it
Okay.
was good to read, words were good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because when you are explaining it as a metaphor, then you ought to you are explain when you are explaining a metaphor, when you are explaining a symbol, then you're using another metaphors to explain the same metaphor.
Mm.
So metaphor, when you're explaining it, then yeah, yeah, so the description should have been better here. Anyway, we'll come to this in a little while like later, but let's proceed. What you've written.
Okay.
However, shining like a sun is not easy. Everything, even the smallest thing that we want to achieve, needs days and months of sleepless nights. This is the core sentiment of this essay. So here you have hit the bullseye,
Mm.
and then it leaves the impression that okay, yes, you have understood the topic. For
Yes.
example, the athletes who wish to perform their level best have to train rigorously for continuous 4 years to be able to perform on the D-Day. So this is a fine example. Okay, good one. But if I have to make it better, so what I would have said is that instead of using a generic athletes stuff, you could have given a very pinpoint or specific example.
Sir,
Most
actually, I missed the word Olympic.
like, for example, let me tell you that. For example, and
Mm.
as I repeatedly tell you that create visualizations of what you say. Okay,
Mm.
so
Yes.
here what I can recommend you is like you could have said like that for a 9.8 second sprint, a athlete has to run for decades and decades, continuously run for,
Right.
for a 10
Mm.
second fame like that. Or you could
Yes, sir.
use the name of Usain Bolt. That Usain Bolt
Mm-hmm.
wins a medal in 9.8 seconds, but for that 9.8 second, he has to continuously burn himself day in and day out.
Okay, sir. Mm-hmm.
So, though the description of it can be understood, that this does not comes easy, a huge price has to be paid in the form of unshakable determination and hard work. Liters of sweat becomes the what is this
Really?
to their success. Okay, liters of liters of sweat. It's okay, good, but gallons of sweat would have been even better.
I
Like,
was thinking about writing Galen, but then I changed my mind.
okay, gallons of sweat becomes their success. In this process, there may come a phase of self-doubt and worry where it would not be feasible to continue with the work, but even at such a testing time, if one gets up to their duty, that is when leaders are coming. Leaders come up. Again, this is good. I liked it. You're hitting the
Mm.
bullseye and explaining the topic very well.
Okay.
So far you have been able to leave this impression to the reader that you understood the topic very well. Gita mentions about the philosophy of Nishkam Karm, that is, work without thinking about the results, or work without being obsessed with the results. Or,
mm,
okay, it's okay. With work without being perturbed about the results.
mm.
It's not that we should be thoughtless about our results, what they
Uh,
or reckless.
just doing the duty.
We should not be reckless about our results,
Mm,
but not be
mm,
obsessed with them. It
mm,
transcends that doing your duty is your dharma, and the one who rigorously performs it is bound to succeed. Gautam Buddha, in his quest of attaining nirvana, did not become successful in days or months. Add these qualifying words, which accentuates the idea which you want to suggest.
mm, mm. Okay.
The flame of desire was not lit off easily. Several years of penance and renunciation led by him made him finally achieve that. Okay. Today in this entrepreneurial world, India is charting its own growth story. We have surpassed our colonizer in the number of unicorns present in our country. How did this grand leap taken? Well, every stakeholder involved in this has worked phenomenally hard, be it the government or the entrepreneurs. Now, there are two things into this example.
Mm,
One is there's a rare possibility that what does unicorn stands for? Very rare thought that what if the examiner does not know that? So the whole
mm.
argument you would be missing out. So in just a bracket, if
Okay.
you said that the startup crossing like 1 billion
Billion dollar mark.
$1 billion evaluation. And the second
Mm,
part to this is that I did not very much like this example. Somehow
okay.
I think this is not very true, like not very convincing. Maybe a better example to show how India has surpassed even the Western countries in some ways. Maybe some example of Israel or something else could have been there.
I've
But it is
given some
okay.
examples after this. Mm,
It is not wrong, but
mm.
not the best example.
Not hitting the point.
Yeah,
Mm,
because no, it's because actually our state of economy is not that good that we can say that we are better than them. It's only that we are in better than them in the
mm.
science, but per capita income or like on all other denominators, or how many of those startups are actually in a place to dominate the world. So,
Okay.
but it is okay. It's your view, and you're free to hold it. There's nothing wrong in that.
Mm,
So this an ecosystem has been created through which add multiple unicorns every month. This was, and when you say na, be it government or entrepreneurs, वैसे तो ठीक लग रहा है, वैसे तो these lines are good, but ऐसा लग रहा है कि गवर्नमेंट का ही कोई कोई spokesperson बीजेपी का बोल रहा है ये, ऐसा फील आ रहा है, because
Sir, I wrote
it's
this.
not very
Mm.
convincing इसलिए.
Sir, I wrote this because an ecosystem has been created. Matlab, it was in news.
Yeah, it was a news and it's an opinion.
Mm,
And as I said, you're free
mm,
to hold this opinion. Uh, and don't be under the burden. जितना मैं भी आपको वो कर रहा हूँ,
mm.
कर रहा हूँ, ऐसा नहीं, इतना burden में मत रहना. आपका ऐसे अच्छा है वैसे. It's a good essay. Free flow में लिखते रहना, और जो भी improvisation
Uh,
करें, अभी आगे भी कुछ आपके shortcomings, I would suggest you some drawbacks. So that doesn't mean
yes,
that
sir.
it's bad. It only means how you can
Mm,
improve it further.
yes.
It is true that world only sees the final success, but journey is equally refreshing. Yeah, this is the core idea. Even
Mm,
more than the goal or destination, it is the process which actually communicates to us the burning days of discomfort and uncertainty. Now, this burning word is repeating 2 or 3 times. If you could have found some word, some synonym of this word, it would have been better.
okay.
Now here is that the advantage of good hold on language. If you have good hold on language, then that is how you can take a few inches at.
Mm.
So if you can think of any example, think of any word which can reflect the same idea, burning.
Yes,
Uh, the thorny path leading up to the last mile is something on which only few dare to walk. Very nice. Let us take an example and somewhere either underline them or use a pen where which is of different
Uh,
thickness or
yes, underline it.
and I think better than underlining is using a pen which is of a slightly different thickness. Like a normal pen is
Mm,
of say 0.4 mm, so 0.6 mm you can use, or a slightly
yes.
different shade of the color, light blue, dark blue. You can make a variation there.
Okay.
Let us take an example. We all have heard of Nika.com, which today has opened the gates of cosmetic industries in India. Opened the gates or leading the surge of cosmetics industries in India. While we
Mm,
only look at the front, little do people know about when Fagani Nair was to take when Fagani Nair took a leap of faith. She had already crossed 50 years of age. Now, when you're more particular with the language, then your idea flows out in a more accurate manner.
mm.
So here, like if you
So, is there any problem in this line, sir?
no, it's not problematic. And as I said, your essay is good. Language is also good. Your language, it it is decorated at certain some places. Grammar mistakes are not there,
Mhm.
except at one or two places. It's fine. Language is fine, but there is always a scope to improvise it.
Yes, sir, obviously.
Also, the company ran on family funds for 2 years. If at that point of time she would have backed off, today the company would not have valued at over 13 billion. Now, see the way I have rephrased this sentence with minor alterations.
Yeah.
It does not change the meaning, but it makes the your sense more visible, like what you want to say. At
Okay.
that point of time, had she backed off, the company
Mm,
would not have been valued at over 13 billion today.
mm.
So it's a very
More powerful statement. Mm,
sentence is the same, but it's just that
mm.
the meaning would be generated in a more accurate manner.
Yes. Mm.
I think you can afford a little bit of this improvisation. You have that command on
Yes,
language.
sir.
Okay, so
Yes,
what
yes,
are
obviously.
listing you
Mm,
these things?
mm.
Similar are the cases with other multiple risk takers. Without risk, there cannot be reward. The self belief of taking the road less traveled by is dangerous, but beneficial if sustained. Now, see, since our thought is slightly altered here, if you
Mm.
change the sequence of these words, I believe that you want to see the same thing, but if you change the
Ah,
sequence of these words, it leaves the impact in a more accurate manner. The self
mm,
belief of taking the road traveled by, bring it forward, beneficial if sustained,
mm.
but also equally dangerous.
Yes. Right.
Suffering is an important precondition for success. It requires an unshakable spirit. Marwan Atapa took 6 years to score his second run, but the self-faith shown by him made him score 16 centuries and six double centuries. Similarly, Edison did not get success overnight. He failed 19 times, but had the courage to try it for the 100th time, where he got rewarded. There is clearly a lot to learn from the lives of these peoples about how they burn like sun to illuminate the world later. Burning brings out the best of which the human beings are capable of. It makes us challenge ready for any obstacle which we might encounter in future. It inspires us to frame our own path and chart our own course of action. Fine. So that's the during our freedom struggle, during the calling of non-cooperation and civil disobedience movement, Gandhiji was hugely criticized about his decision. However, he did not bog down and was clear with his intentions. According to him, if the end is pure, then the means also has to be have to be pure. and that is why he was hell bent on non-violence. Any deviation from it would have unleashed the wrath of the British Indian Army, and the movement would have been subdued forcefully. Uh, my dear, I would recommend that do not avoid this example of non-cooperation movement being called off, especially by Gandhiji. The reason it is, again, I would say not the best example, and second, this example is one of the most controversial decision of his life. So,
Mm.
so even if you will have to try, you will have to put a lot of efforts to justify that, to convincingly justify that. It would remain a very controversial decision.
So that is why I wrote after that it would have unleashed the wrath of British
Yes,
Indian
I see
Army.
that. I see your struggle in trying to justify it. But what I'm
Mm.
telling you is that some things are better not said.
Okay.
So we just have to write 1200 words. Thousands of things are there in our mind. Why to do something
Mm.
controversial? So,
But the Gandhiji fits in every essay, so I wrote it.
hmm. And I have said this to many students also. Gandhi non-cooperation being called off is a very controversial
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Okay.
That is why he was hell bent on non-violence. Any deviation from it would have bring out some other aspect of his life. Gandhi's life can hundreds of examples from his life can be taken. Okay, we'll move
Mm.
over here. Any deviation from it would have unleashed the wrath of British Indian Army and movement would have been subdued forcefully. Though I understand what you're saying, Bipin Chandra has said the same thing that how and why how much important it was.
Why was it important?
Yeah, why
Yes.
was it important and it a good strategy it was. But we know that thing. Your reader may not
Uh,
know that. Your reader may not be
mm.
a student or a scholar of history. He may not have read Bipin Chandra.
Mm. Yes.
Moreover, at a time when we did not even have our own country, it was Subhash Chandra Bose who, with the help of Germans, Japanese, formed the Indian National Army, which served as a huge deterrent to Britishers. Fine, good example. But again, just for example, if I had to write the same
Mm.
statement, instead of writing with the
Yes.
help of Germans, I would have removed Germans and Japanese. I won't give even a inch of credit to those people. I would have
Uh,
focused more on Subhash Chandra itself.
yes.
So what I could have
Mm-hmm.
written is that it was Subhash Chandra who collected the exiled soldiers or the imprisoned soldiers,
From World War II,
and
like
from the
that.
fallen soldiers, he created a new battalions. So
Mm.
that the credit flows more onto him.
Here the credit is getting divided.
Yeah. In any one of the two personalities would have given up to their failures, and there is a high possibility that even today we would not have a country which we could say ours. Nice, nice, good. This was a sun which lit up on the land of Bharat, which inspired other decolonization movement across the world. However, if we assess the situation today, things are pretty different. Today, the world is increasingly deviating towards comfort and ease without even willing to work for it. The glamour culture on the visible in media has inflated the aspirations and dreams of many, especially children of young age, who see and believe that all is rosy in the world. Nice. Good to see your comeback to the real
Mm.
scenarios. Because of this, we have always heard names regarding children being obnoxious with their parents for not providing costly iPhones, this, whatnot. Nice. The present generation seems to be aloof of the world developments and the hard work that has been put to form the companies and organizations whose products they are using. The materialism and easy money making madness has also manifested in the form of various online frauds, scams, and corruptions. People want to enjoy every comfort without being ready to burn for it. This has also manifested in the form of increasing property skirmishes within the family. It has discarded even the fierce institution of marriage. Now the question arises that how do we go on from here? First of all, there is a need to foster an attitudinal change in people and in a society. This can be done through providing value education from the beginning to the children. Inspiring stories of people from all walks of life needs to be narrated. Real life examples such as demonstrating the success of our national institutions such as ISRO which has multiple feeds under its names, even after operating on a budget crunch, needs to be told. Additionally, Buddha's teachings about Dhamma and Gandhi's talisman can be the guiding light. People need to be demonstrated the difference between transient success based on shortcuts, narrow mindedness, and real success based on doing the due diligence rationally and eliminating the world. I'm getting a feeling that your essays is slightly has crossed or breached the word limits. I think I'm getting that vibes. We cannot imagine mankind to be able to inspire if we aren't ready to sacrifice now. It is important not just for present generation but also the generations to come. The person inhabiting good qualities goes, but the world remembers its patience, sleepless nights, and sacrifices which she had put. This is the way to make our world a better place and bring about a substantive change. Let us work to do this. Good.
So it is 10 pages. I don't
Mhm.
think maybe crossed 100,000 words.
So here it saw slight deviation, but that was fine because the core ideas you have already hit at several places earlier. And then
Mm.
this deviation would be seen in a positive light that the student is able to see beyond and link it to what needs to be done and what are the other problems of our time.
Yeah.
And um, so so what I liked in your essay was your ability to understand what the topic was. As I said, that you hit
Mm.
the core idea at several places. You explained it. The second was your presentation is also good. The language
Okay.
is better. It's improved considerably.
Mm. Mm.
Uh,
So actually, you told to use the local examples, not very big, but from places I see that bedroom, room, and observing the society. So I tried to use those examples.
yeah, I can see that. Especially in the last, I could see that where you're
Mm.
talking about marriage, family, children.
Yes.
So I always say that look around you. You will always there, and
Mm.
when you look around you now, you there you would say something which would strike a chord with the reader also.
Yes, sir.
So that keep this thing straight. Keep this thing in mind.
Okay.
These things keep in mind. So it's good. You did that. You incorporated that.
Mm.
These things, young children, and these things incorporated that, and the relationships stress which is there between parents and children. Uh, all
Yes,
these
sir.
aspects which you touched is good. Okay.
Mm.
Now, if I have to bring out your faults, though there are less, but still.
Ah, yes.
Okay. So apart from the sentence structuring things which I told, where there's a scope for improvisation at some places,
Mm.
but more importantly, what I noticed in your essay, especially in the first few pages, when you explained that one has to burn. The topic here
Mm.
is if you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun, which somewhat it reflects that idea of that movie, Spider-Man's movie, that with greater powers comes greater responsibilities. That's the kind of thing.
Yes.
So you have to burn yourself. And this burning, the kind of examples which you have given in the first few pages, especially, there was a pattern in them. And those examples were about the skill or the will to overcome the failures, like Edison or some other examples which
Marvanatapattu.
yeah, you gave those examples which were mostly they were telling us tales of people who overcame failures or were not afraid of failures, okay, or
Mm.
who took risk, like entrepreneurs, they took risk. So there was a pattern that all those were
Mm.
examples of basically failures, but this burn thing can reflect in many other aspects also. It's not just failures where you need to focus on. Burn means that uh, uh, um, you will have to endure a lot of pains. And what are these
Mm.
pains? What are these pains which you have to endure? So a person who looks like a star in front of us, We may be tempted to be like that star, but the truth is that star is enduring a lot of pains, going through a lot of struggles. It's not just the struggles to for success. That's one thing. That's you have already stressed, and that's the major dominant thought in your essay.
Mm.
But what are the other struggles? The internal struggles which a person goes through, the internal conflict which a person goes through, the crisis through which he goes through. For example, to be a leader, you have to continuously involved in the process of self-annihilation. There is no scope to pursue your own desires. You have the resources to pursue your own desires, but you don't do that.
So what do you mean by that?
Like for example, like Gandhiji. You talked about Gandhi's non-cooperation movement. So instead of non-cooperation movement, what you could have said was that leaders like Gandhi or Subhash, they sacrificed their family life. Like they could
Mm.
not be with their loved ones when they were dying. Subhash Chandra Bose
Yes.
mother, I think she was sick and ailing. He left. He had to leave her in the middle of the crisis. Gandhi, I think he could not be with Kasturba during the last days.
Yeah.
I think either Gandhi or Nehru, they could not be with their wives when they were dying. They could not enjoy the pleasure of being with their children. So this is what the burning is. Now you talk
Mm.
about IS officers, for example. Now everyone wants to be an IS officer. Everyone is charmed by their fancies, beaconed lights and all, but the glamour they get. But if truth be told, these the bureaucracy it has to operate on some principles of anonymity.
Mm.
So they should be working hard, but also be ready if the credit for that is taken by the civil by the democratically elected
Political class.
political
Mm.
class. That's the very nature for that. A
Mm.
soldier, a decorated soldier or a major general, uh, he has the skills to shoot. He has the best of weapons uh, in his arsenals, but he cannot shoot until he gets the orders for that, and he may have to burn in that fire where he continuously stops himself in spite of the gravest provocations by the army, by the enemy.
Mm.
Now, there is good that you gave the example of family, but within the same family, if we talk about, for example, parents, they have all the resources, they have access to all the bank accounts, but it is usually the child whose birthday is celebrated or the child who gets birthday present. Parents, they don't necessarily pursue their own desires. It's the child who gets the
Right.
fancy.
Sir. It's a nice example.
So, and a marital life, for example, people fancy about the marital life of sometimes people within their streets or towns or sometime from the glamour industry. But if truth be told, every so-called successful marital life has some internal discords or disharmony which others may not be able to see. So the idea is that you could and you should talk about the idea that many people they have struggles which others can't see, or at least others don't focus. We only focus on the good side of it.
Mm.
We do not focus on the struggles they have. And as I'm telling you, this struggles means not just struggle to be successful, because at the end of the day you can say that okay, struggle to be success was your own personal endeavors.
Mm.
So talk about that. These film stars, everybody wants to be a film star, but
Right.
these film stars, Miss World, for example, or Miss India, these girls, they can't eat the sweets which they like us. They have to be cautious
Mm.
about a single grain of salt and sugar which goes inside their
Yeah.
body.
Conscious of calories.
Conscious of calories.
Mm.
Any of the Lata Mangeshkar example I will give you. Lata Mangeshkar, she died recently. So she,
Mm.
no other artist has achieved the fame she had, Bharat Ratna and whatnot.
Mhm.
All her life, she sang beautiful songs, marvelous songs. Aja Piya Tuhe Pyar Do. Such romantic melodies she has sung. But
Mm-hmm.
she was not married in her personal life. These artists, they always have to project a false personality of their life. And they have to act or sing or work uh, those stories which are completely opposite to their personal lives, and how much they would have to suppress their emotions. Nobody sees that
Mm-hmm.
these aspects of the life of the people in the glamour industry, whether it is now these are you getting the picture? So these are
Yes, sir.
this was a sentiment. Now, whether you talk about people in the glamour industry or people in the family or people in the political theaters, even the leaders, the politicians, prime ministers or in India or elsewhere, it sounds great to be that, but they can't get 1 minute for themselves, and always their
Mm-hmm.
life is under the threat of bombs. And so many leaders in Indian subcontinent, from Pakistan to India to Bangladesh, they have lost their lives because of terrorist incidents. You never know whether you would continue to live the next day. So these occupational hazards, which the public cannot see with regard to these so-called glamorous jobs. And apart from these occupational hazards, also the struggles which they have endured, and especially the struggles of restraining themselves continuously, day by day, minute by minute of their life, they have to repress their desires and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Modi cannot walk into a CCD like you and me. He
No.
cannot go and watch a movie in PVR. Well, he doesn't need to do that.
Mm.
But the thing is that they have to live under certain controls,
Protocols.
protocols,
Mm.
continuous protocols.
Mm.
And okay, these are the things. Now so this is what you could have related. Now what I want to tell you is, then whenever you're given a topic, look into every word, what it signifies, and like
Mm.
what are the different interpretations of that word which you can take. What people write essay just thinking, yeah, economic dimension, political dimension, environmental dimension कर
No,
दो.
no, no. I used to write that like that only.
Yeah, so इसके अलावा आप जो एक और चीज चीज इसमें कर सकते थे इसी ऐसे में कि कुछ एक्स्ट्रा थॉट्स जिसे आप डाल सकते हैं कि sometimes it is possible that you burned like a sun, but you don't get an opportunity to
Get the required result.
yeah, to shine like a sun. So we should be ready for that also.
Mm. Mm.
Like
I
he
thought about this.
हाँ गीता का जो thought है. Yeah, it is possible that you get to see some people in this world who are shining like sun, but they are selfish and they have taken up the crooked means to that. They're not burning like sun. So we should not let those examples intimidate us or corrupt our dedication to ethics and morals. ये थोड़े से दो
So
points
it's
अगर आप
same as that. Uh, Power brings responsibility, like that.
great, yeah, greater power brings greater responsibility. But there are some people now who are who have power, but they have no sense of responsibility. So
Yes.
that should not allow, that should not corrupt us. ठीक है, उनको छोड़ो, उनको ignore करो. We should be committed to the ethics. ठीक है, we would be responsible if we want power, and we would be responsible even if we don't get the power.
Mm.
Okay, it's easy to be say like like if we talk about parents, kitna parents they work uh, day in day out, they have sleepless nights, then they are able to raise an infant who cannot walk on his legs. They have to continuously repress their emotions. चलिए anyway, वैसे आपका ऐसे अच्छा है. I this was a good essay, but obviously there is always a scope to improvise it and
Yes,
improve
sir.
it
Okay,
further.
sir.
ठीक है.
ठीक है, sir.
So this we can end here. Okay.
Mm. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Aman, I'll be putting up a clip or a portion or maybe some portion of this on the channel.
Sure, sir. No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.